The colony ships had arrived at New Terra with dreams etched into every bolt and bulkhead. For 8 years, the settlement flourished. Dome farms stretching across the valleys, children playing beneath artificial skies that simulated Earth's perfect summer days. Fleet Admiral Han Jiwoo had chosen this place for his family precisely because it lay far from military outposts. "A place where my children won't see warships overhead," he'd told his wife during their last transmission. Dr. Kim Do-hyun established his research facility on the planet's smaller continent, studying quantum principles that might revolutionize interstellar travel. His spouse and 3 children lived in the facility's family quarters, often joining him in the observatory to watch the strange, beautiful auroras that danced across New Terra's night sky. Neither man could have known that. The Zalnar Dominion had marked New Terra for destruction. The attack came without warning. The settlement's basic defense grid detected the Zalnar battlecruisers only minutes before impact, not nearly enough time for evacuation. Sleek obsidian ships with blade-like edges sliced through the colony's airspace, releasing payloads that cracked the planet's crust. The orbital platform carrying Admiral Han was returning from an inspection tour when the emergency broadcasts began. He watched helplessly as the continent housing his family erupted in flame. Dr. Kim, attending a conference on Earth, collapsed during his presentation as the news reached him. The quantum connection he'd studied for decades seemed to manifest. In the worst possible way, he felt his family's terror across impossible distances. They weren't alone in their grief. 2 million colonists perished in hours. The destruction was methodical, precise. The Zalnar left nothing standing. Earth's government filed immediate protests with the Galactic Council. The response was insulting in its indifference. Unfortunate. Border incidents are common during species expansion phases. The Council recommends improved early warning systems. The Zalnar representative spoke with casual cruelty. If humans require these lessons to understand galactic hierarchies, perhaps more demonstrations will follow. Something broke that day, not just in Admiral Han and Dr. Kim, but across humanity. The first signs were subtle. Admiral Han, previously known for careful, measured tactics, developed an uncanny ability to predict enemy movements. During a routine patrol near Jupiter's moons, he ordered course corrections seconds before hidden Zalnar scout ships revealed themselves with weapons fire. His vessel avoided damage while disabling 3 enemy craft that should have had every advantage. "I saw it," he told his bewildered crew. "Not with sensors. I just knew they were there, knew exactly where they would fire from." On Earth, Dr. Kim experienced something equally impossible. Working through sleepless weeks in his laboratory, he suddenly perceived quantum fields directly, as if they were visible waves washing through normal space. Equations that had stumped humanity's brightest minds unfolded before him with perfect clarity. "The barriers aren't where we thought," he whispered to his stunned assistants. "The universe doesn't protect its secrets. We just never evolved to see them." Similar reports emerged worldwide. A pilot in the North American Defense Force outmaneuvered 5 automated drones in a training exercise while blindfolded. Our colony ship engineer redesigned propulsion systems in her sleep, sketching blueprints that bypassed theoretical limitations. Medical scans revealed the truth. Neural pathways dormant since humanity's earliest evolution had suddenly activated. Ancient sections of the human brain, parts that once helped ancestors survive predators when humans were prey, were firing with unprecedented energy. The trigger appeared to be collective trauma, shared grief and rage channeled into unexpected cognitive evolution. The Galactic Biology Institute had recorded this phenomenon only once before, in a species that had faced extinction-level threats. For 12 generations, their neural adaptation had taken centuries. Humanity's occurred in weeks. On the edge of Earth's solar system, automated defense platforms detected unusual movement. 6 Zalnar warships entered the outer boundaries, their hull configurations matching those that had destroyed New Terra. They approached with casual confidence, certain that humanity's defenses would crumble as easily as the colonies had. Admiral Han, commanding Earth's primary defense fleet from his flagship Vengeance, watched the enemy approach with strange calmness. His neural implants connected him to 12 other captains, each experiencing the same enhanced awareness. They didn't need to communicate with words. Tactical information flowed between them like water. "They expect us to panic," Han said to his bridge crew. "They expect us to behave like prey." The Zalnar ships deployed their standard formation, a hexagonal approach designed to overwhelm defensive grids with overlapping fields of fire. For thousands of years, it had brought them victory against dozens of species. What they couldn't know was that Admiral Han could now perceive the structural weaknesses in their formation, the millisecond delays in their coordinated weapons systems. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, sliding into spaces the Zalnar tactics didn't account for. The battle lasted 9 minutes. All 6 Zalnar warships were disabled with surgical strikes to propulsion and weapons systems. No human vessel suffered significant damage. As reports of the victory spread across Earth and the colonies, something else traveled with them, a dawning awareness that humanity had changed. In laboratories worldwide, researchers confirmed what many already sensed. The neural activation wasn't temporary. Like a switch flipped by evolutionary pressure, humanity had accessed abilities that had always existed below the surface. The Galactic Council requested an emergency session. The eldest species, the Thalaxians, 12-limbed beings who had guided galactic policy for millennia, spoke directly to Earth's representatives. "We have miscalculated. The Zalnar attack has triggered something unprecedented. We recognize the threat you now face, and perhaps the threat you may become. But humanity was already looking beyond diplomatic solutions." In his orbital laboratory, Dr. Kim Do-Yun activated a prototype shield that bent light around solid matter. Admiral Han reviewed tactical simulations showing human fleets moving through space in ways no enemy could predict. The Zalnar had sought to teach humanity its place in the galactic order. Instead, they had awakened something ancient and dangerous, the full potential of a species that had evolved as both predator and prey. Humanity had snapped, and the stars would never be the same. The mining operation on Ceres would have appeared normal to any observer. Heavy machinery carved into the asteroid's surface, automated haulers carried ore to processing facilities, and workers in standard-issue environmental suits moved between pressurized habitats. Nothing suggested military development. This was exactly as Admiral Han intended. Behind sealed doors, those same workers assembled modular weapon systems inside hollowed-out sections of the asteroid. What appeared to be simple ore processors were actually manufacturing advanced targeting arrays. The supply ships bringing food and materials to the station carried carefully hidden components that, when assembled, formed the core of a new fleet of stealth vessels. "The Zalnar and the Council expect us to build obvious defenses," Admiral Han explained to the station commander while reviewing progress in a shielded command center. "Large, visible warships, planetary shields, the usual desperate measures of a threatened species." He gestured to a holographic display showing similar civilian operations throughout the solar system and beyond. "They're watching all the places we should be building weapons. Meanwhile, we build them everywhere else." The Admiral's enhanced perception had revealed patterns no human had previously detected, gaps in monitoring systems, blind spots in galactic surveillance networks. His mind calculated probabilities and identified opportunities with machine-like precision, while retaining human intuition and creativity. The combination was devastating. On Earth's moon, deep beneath the Korolev crater, Dr. Kim worked with equally revolutionary purpose. The laboratory complex had officially been repurposed for humanitarian research following the New Terra massacre. Council observers had full access to the upper levels, where scientists developed improved agricultural systems and medical technologies. None were permitted in the subterranean chambers where Dr. Kim pursued his real work. "The field distortion is stable," he announced to his team as they gathered around a demonstration chamber. Inside, a small probe hovered in apparent violation of physical laws. "The principles are deceptively simple once you perceive quantum relationships directly." His grief had torn open doorways in his understanding. Where once he saw equations and theories, he now perceived the universe's underlying structure, as clearly as others saw colors or shapes. This perception revealed weaknesses in technologies the elder galactic species had relied upon for millennia. Zalnar shield technology depends on perfect harmonic resonance, Dr. Kim explained as he activated a small device. The probe's defensive shield, built to Zalnar specifications, flickered and failed. They've optimized a flawed approach for thousands of years, never questioning fundamental assumptions because the technology came from their ancestors. His assistant looked troubled. The Council claims sharing advanced technology ensures galactic stability. Why would they allow such vulnerabilities? Dr. Kim's expression darkened. Perhaps some species benefit from others remaining vulnerable. The Council's technology exchange program has always been selective. While these secret preparations advanced, humanity maintained a public face of compliance and recovery. New colonies received Council approval and oversight. Trade continued. Diplomatic channels remained open. Representative Park Soon-hee served as the perfect embodiment of this strategy. A diplomat known for thoughtful moderation before the new terror attack, she now presented as the voice of human restraint and cooperation. The Council welcomed her reasonable approach, especially compared to the angry protests they'd expected. The Council chamber itself resembled a massive amphitheater carved from living crystal, with seating arranged according to each species' biological needs and status. As a relatively new arrival to galactic politics, humanity's position was near the outer rim, far from the ancient founding species who occupied the central platforms. "We have reviewed the evidence regarding the new Terra incident," announced the Thalaxian elder, whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns expressing formal regret. "While unfortunate, we find insufficient proof of deliberate aggression. The Zalnar Dominion maintains the encounter resulted from navigation errors near contested space." Representative Park's voice remained steady, despite the absurdity of this claim. "With respect, Elder, New Terra was 17 light-years from the nearest contested boundary. The attack involved 12 warships in formation. Our settlement had no military value." The Zalnar representative, a tall, chitinous being whose face remained hidden behind an ornate mask, clicked disapprovingly. "Humans misunderstand galactic boundaries. They are not simple lines but complex zones influenced by gravitational domains and historical claims. Perhaps if humans studied our historical archives more carefully." For 6 hours, Park endured similar dismissals. She presented evidence, requested sanctions, and proposed security arrangements, all while knowing the Council would take no meaningful action. Her true purpose wasn't to convince them, but to maintain the appearance of diplomatic engagement while buying time. Time that humanity used effectively. Throughout Zalnar space, unassuming transport ships made routine deliveries. Their crews, humans with artificially altered appearances or robotic proxies controlled by human operators, moved through spaceports with practiced nonchalance. They left behind seemingly insignificant devices, maintenance robots, communication, relays, environmental sensors. Each contained dormant systems designed by Dr. Kim's team. When activated, they would target specific vulnerabilities in Zalnar infrastructure. On a Zalnar mining moon, a repair technician named Lee placed what appeared to be a standard power regulator near the facility's main reactor. The device immediately mimicked the electronic signature of legitimate equipment, becoming invisible to security scans. "Package delivered," Lee sub-vocalized to his orbital support team. "Moving to extraction point." Similar operations occurred across 27 Zalnar-controlled worlds and stations. The devices waited, silent and patient, for the signal that would transform them from passive sensors to active weapons. Admiral Han reviewed the operation reports from his command center beneath Europa's ice. The massive underground sea provided natural shielding against detection, allowing the construction of humanity's true defense fleet. The ships took shape in underwater assembly yards, vessels unlike any seen before in the galaxy, incorporating Dr. Kim's revolutionary technologies. "Final test sequence complete on the prototype," reported his engineering chief. "The phase shift system works exactly as Dr. Kim predicted. When activated, the ship becomes partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Conventional weapons simply pass through it." Han observed the demonstration with satisfaction. "And our weapons remain effective while phased?" "Yes, Admiral. We can hit them, but they can't hit us. Production would take months, but the results would redefine warfare. The ships were only one component of a comprehensive strategy." Enhanced. Humans now filled key positions throughout Earth's defense infrastructure. Training programs incorporated newly discovered cognitive techniques. Civilian technologies were designed for rapid military conversion if needed, all while the Galactic Council believed humanity was focusing on recovery and adaptation. Representative Park's final address to the Council came precisely when Admiral Han's preparations reached the critical point of no return. As she spoke of humanity's desire for peaceful coexistence, her words carefully crafted to seem genuine, while hiding deeper resolve, the Admiral activated the first phase of humanity's true response. The galaxy had taught humanity a harsh lesson. At New Terra, now humanity would teach one in return. The Zalnar assault fleet approached Proxima Centauri with absolute confidence. 16 warships, their hulls gleaming with the distinctive black-green material that had become synonymous with terror throughout the sector. Their commander, War Director Kraz, had personally overseen 3 planetary subjugations and viewed this operation as routine. Human outposts had fallen easily before, their defenders fleeing or fighting with predictable desperation. "Preliminary scans show minimal defenses," reported his sensor officer. "Standard orbital platforms, 3 patrol vessels, ground-based weapon emplacements consistent with frontier protection guidelines." Kraz made the clicking sound his species used to express satisfaction. "The Council's restrictions serve us well. These humans cannot defend themselves properly without violating treaty limitations." The Zalnar ships arranged themselves in attack formation, a precise geometric pattern designed to maximize coverage while minimizing exposure. They had used this approach for centuries, refining it against countless adversaries. "Commence the first strike phase," Kraz ordered. "Target their communication arrays first." The lead vessels fired, energy weapons lancing toward the human outpost's orbital platforms. What happened next defied all Zalnar tactical projections. The supposedly primitive defense platforms shifted position with impossible speed, their movements so precisely coordinated they seemed to anticipate the attack. Not a single shot connected. More disturbing still, the 3 human patrol vessels, which should have retreated to protect the colony, accelerated directly toward the Zalnar fleet. Evasive. "Maneuvers," Kraz ordered, confidence giving way to confusion. "Full shields." On the lead human vessel, Captain Lee Jun-ho sat motionless in his command chair, eyes closed. His neural implant connected him to both his ship and the other defenders. He didn't need screens or reports to perceive the battlefield. His enhanced consciousness extended through systems and space alike. "Target lock on primary Zalnar vessels," he stated calmly. "Initiate phase shift on my mark." His crew, similarly enhanced, worked with fluid precision. Their movements seemed almost choreographed, each action flowing seamlessly into the next. "Phase shift active," reported his tactical officer. The human ships shimmered, their outlines becoming hazy as Dr. Kim's revolutionary technology took effect. They existed partially outside normal spacetime, becoming ghostly silhouettes against the stars. The Zalnar fleet fired again, energy beams passing harmlessly through the phase-shifted vessels. Confusion turned to alarm in the Zalnar command. Center as their most powerful weapons proved useless. "Impossible," Kraz hissed. "No species has developed phase technology. The theoretical principles are beyond—" He never finished his thought. The human ships fired, specialized weapons designed by Dr. Kim that remained solid even during phase shift. The projectiles pierced the supposedly impenetrable Zalnar shields as if they were made of paper, striking with surgical precision at propulsion and weapon systems. 4 Zalnar vessels lost power immediately. 3 more spun out of formation, venting atmosphere from precision hull breaches. Not one was completely destroyed. The attacks were deliberately non-lethal, but thoroughly disabling. "Second wave. Engage," Captain Lee ordered, his voice showing. No emotion despite the unprecedented success of their tactics. 6 more human ships dropped out of light speed, appearing behind the Zalnar fleet and immediately phase-shifting. The aliens found themselves caught in a perfect three-dimensional trap. "War Director," called a panicked Zalnar officer, "we're detecting energy signatures matching these vessels throughout the system. They were waiting for us." Indeed, Admiral Han had anticipated this attack months ago. His enhanced strategic perception had identified Proxima Centauri as the most logical target for the Zalnar's next demonstration of power. He had prepared accordingly, using the outpost as bait in a carefully laid trap. Across Zalnar space, events unfolded with equally devastating precision. On their homeworld's largest moon, a primary military command center suddenly lost power when dormant devices placed by human operatives activated simultaneously. Defense satellites around 3 major Zalnar colonies abruptly turned and fired on their own shipyards. Propulsion systems on docked warships received contradictory commands, causing destructive ignition sequences. None of these actions caused mass casualties. They were precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy. This cold efficiency proved more terrifying to the Zalnar than rage would have been. War Director Kraz watched helplessly as his fleet was systematically crippled. 13 of 16 vessels now drifted powerless. The remaining 3 had maintained only basic life support and communication systems. "Send emergency transmission to High Command," he ordered. "We require immediate—" "Sir," interrupted his communication officer, "we cannot establish contact with any military command center. Reports are coming in from civilian channels. Coordinated strikes across all our territories. Our entire defense network is compromised." For the first time in his long career, Kraz felt fear. Not just for this battle, but for his species' future. Captain Lee's voice came through on all Zalnar frequencies. "Your vessels are disabled. Your crews will not be harmed. Escape pods remain functional if you wish to evacuate to the surface of Proxima Centauri B. You will be treated according to galactic humanitarian protocols." The transmission ended without demands or threats. Another departure from warfare as the Zalnar understood it. Victory should be followed by ultimatums, territory claims, resource demands. This cold efficiency suggested something more disturbing. Humans saw this as merely the first step in a larger plan. News of the battle spread across galactic networks with unprecedented speed. The Council called an emergency session, summoning representatives from all major powers. Humanity's seat remained conspicuously empty. The Thalaxian elder, who had dismissed Representative Park's evidence weeks earlier, now spoke with visible agitation, bioluminescent patterns flashing urgently across its translucent body. "We demand humanity cease military operations immediately. This disproportionate response threatens galactic stability. Council peacekeeping forces will deploy to human territories if..." The Chamber's main communication screen activated without authorization. Admiral Han's face appeared, his expression calm but resolute. "The Council speaks of stability while ignoring predation. You speak of peace while allowing massacres. Your peacekeepers were nowhere when New Terra burned." He leaned forward slightly. "Humanity tried diplomacy. We followed your protocols, we trusted your system. 2 million human lives paid the price for that trust." The elder attempted to interrupt, but Han continued speaking with quiet intensity. "We are not interested in conquest or vengeance. We seek justice, something this council has proven unwilling to provide. Until adequate measures are implemented to protect all species equally, we will protect ourselves." The transmission ended. Attempts to re-establish communication with any human authority failed. Their ambassadors had been quietly withdrawn from all diplomatic posts days earlier. Their communication channels remained open but unresponsive. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council faced a species that had neither submitted to its authority nor directly challenged it, but simply proceeded to implement its own vision of justice while ignoring the established order entirely. And perhaps most disturbing of all, they were succeeding. The Council peacekeeping fleet gathered at Nexus Point, a strategic intersection of major travel routes. 200 vessels representing 17 species formed an impressive barrier. Their hulls gleamed with advanced alloys from ancient forge worlds. Weapon systems powered by technologies refined over millennia hummed with potential energy. The combined firepower could reduce planets to molten slag. Fleet Commander Zorex of the Etherian Confederation surveyed the formation with professional satisfaction. His species' evolutionary history as pack hunters made him particularly adept at coordinating multi-species operations. "Position report," he ordered, six-fingered hands moving across holographic displays. "All vessels in defensive formation," his second replied. "The human advance must pass through this sector to reach the Zalnar core worlds. Our intelligence indicates their fleet will arrive within 12 hours. Jorex studied the tactical projections. The humans had shown remarkable capabilities, but their fleet remained small compared to what the Council could deploy. Quality might challenge quantity, but numbers this overwhelming should prevail regardless. "They cannot hope to defeat us," he stated confidently. "Perhaps they will reconsider their position when faced with superior force." His second looked less certain. "The reports from Proxima Centauri suggest unusual technologies, ships that become insubstantial. Sensor malfunctions and exaggerations," Zorex dismissed. "No species can phase matter out of standard space-time without catastrophic energy requirements. The laws of physics apply to humans as they do to all." Deep within the command vessel, sensors detected anomalous energy readings. Subtle distortions appeared in seemingly empty regions of space. The automated systems registered these as potential sensor errors and initiated self-diagnostic procedures rather than triggering alerts. This was the first of many fatal miscalculations. Admiral Han stood on the bridge of the Vindication, flagship of humanity's ghost fleet. Around him, enhanced officers monitored systems with that strange, synchronized efficiency that had become characteristic of humanity's new capabilities. "Council force detected at Nexus Point," reported his tactical officer. "Formation consistent with standard containment protocols." Han nodded unsurprised. "Status of phase generators. Operating at optimal capacity, Admiral. All vessels report ready for coordinated shift." The human fleet, 64 ships in total, approached the blockade while maintaining light-bending stealth fields. These conventional concealment measures would fail against the Council's advanced sensors, but they only needed to mask the fleet's true capabilities until the critical moment. "They expect us to either retreat from superior numbers or attempt to force passage through conventional means," Han observed. "Their formation is designed to counter both approaches." His strategic officer agreed. "They've positioned their most powerful weapon platforms at projected breakthrough points. Their faster vessels form a mobile reserve to contain any penetration. A perfect response to traditional tactics," Han said. "Initiate phase shift on my mark. Target their command and control systems only. Throughout the human fleet, crews prepared for combat with eerie calm." There was no anxious chatter, no nervous energy, only focused readiness. The neural changes that had swept through humanity had altered emotional responses along with cognitive capabilities. Fear and anger remained, but now served purpose rather than controlling actions. Phase shift in 3 else 1 mark. Across 64 vessels, Dr. Kim's revolutionary technology activated simultaneously. The ships didn't disappear. They transformed into something between existence and non-existence. Solid matter became translucent, with ghostly outlines shimmering against the void. They moved through space like phantoms, visible yet untouchable. The Council command ship alarms finally blared. "Unknown vessels detected," shouted the sensor officer. "They're inside our formation." Jorex stared in disbelief at tactical displays showing human ships passing directly through defensive screens that should have been impenetrable. "Open fire! All batteries!" Energy weapons from dozens of vessels converged on the phantom ships. Beams that could vaporize mountains passed harmlessly through the phase-shifted hulls, continuing onward to strike other Council vessels on the far side of the formation. "Cease fire," Zorex ordered desperately as the first friendly casualties registered. Targeting systems cannot lock on properly. The human ships moved through the Council formation like ghosts through walls. When they fired, however, their specially designed weapons remained solid enough to impact targets. Precision strikes disabled command centers, weapon controls, and propulsion systems. Within minutes, 40 Council vessels had lost combat capability, without a single one being destroyed. The careful formation collapsed into chaos as ships lost coordination and collided while attempting emergency maneuvers. Jorex watched helplessly as the humans systematically neutralized his fleet's capabilities. The most advanced defensive technologies in the galaxy proved useless against an approach that bypassed physical interaction entirely. "Send emergency signal to Council High Command," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcement and new tactical protocols." As his communications officer attempted to comply, every system on the bridge shut down simultaneously. Emergency lighting activated, revealing a holographic projection materializing in the center of the command deck. Admiral Han's image regarded them calmly. "Your vessels have been disabled. Life support and essential systems remain operational. Evacuation procedures will be transmitted to all ships. You have my personal assurance that no peacekeeping personnel will be harmed if they do not attempt further resistance." The message repeated across every disabled vessel in perfect synchronization. With the Council blockade neutralized, the human fleet continued toward Zalnar space. Their approach triggered mass evacuations from border worlds. Massive refugee ships, overloaded with panicked Zalnar civilians, crowded departure lanes. Orbital platforms that had once controlled trade routes now broadcast automated warnings. "Abandon all military installations. Civilian structures will not be targeted." On the Zalnar colony Dravkar, Governor Thix ordered planetary defense systems to target the approaching human vessels. The massive cannons, capable of engaging targets in high orbit, powered up and locked onto the ghostly ships descending through the atmosphere. "Fire at will," he commanded. The weapons discharged with enough force to shake the entire command bunker. Energy beams lanced upward and passed harmlessly through the phase-shifted vessels. In response, precision strikes disabled the defense grid's power distribution network. No civilian infrastructure was damaged. No residential areas were affected. The systematic surgical nature of the attack proved more terrifying than indiscriminate bombardment would have been. Within hours, the humans had established control over Dravkar's orbital space and neutralized all military capabilities without a single Zalnar casualty. Similar reports came from 6 other colony worlds. The pattern was consistent: military infrastructure precisely disabled, civilian structures meticulously preserved. On worlds that had already been secured, human vessels deployed ground teams, wearing advanced armor that could also phase shift, making them effectively invulnerable to Zalnar weapons. These teams secured military command centers, weapons stockpiles, and communication hubs with mechanical efficiency. From the flagship Vindication, Admiral Han broadcast a message to all Zalnar territories. "We asked for justice, you gave us words. Now we take what you wouldn't provide." The message continued with specific demands: war criminals to be surrendered, military capabilities to be dismantled, and reparations for new terror to be arranged. The terms were non-negotiable, but notably excluded demands for territory, resources, or political submission. The Council's emergency session dissolved into chaos as representatives argued over how to respond. Species that had suffered under Zalnar expansion privately expressed relief at seeing the predator humbled. Others feared the precedent being established. What would happen when other species developed similar technologies and decided to seek their own justice? Most disturbing was humanity's complete disregard for established protocols. They didn't conquer. They didn't negotiate. They simply proceeded methodically toward their stated objectives while ignoring all attempts to engage diplomatically. And nothing in the galaxy's arsenal seemed capable of stopping them. The Zalnar homeworld loomed ahead, its swirling atmosphere banded with the green-black clouds that had evolved to protect its inhabitants from their binary star system's harsh radiation. Ghost Fleet vessels slipped into orbit unopposed, their phantom forms reflected in the planet's upper atmosphere, like spectral visitors from ancient mythology. Admiral Han stood before the view screen, observing the cradle of a civilization that had terrorized its neighbors for centuries. "Unlike New Terra, this world would not burn." "Transmission from the surface, Admiral," reported his communications officer. "The High Command requests terms of surrender." Han's expression remained impassive. Display. The screen shifted to show the Zalnar Supreme Commander, a massive figure whose carapace bore elaborate markings, denoting countless military victories. Where once arrogance had emanated from his posture, now uncertainty radiated from every movement, the E. Dominion accepts defeat, the commander stated, mandibles clicking with what humans now recognized as emotional distress. We submit to humanity's judgment. Han's response came without hesitation or gloating. Transmit coordinates for landing. We will discuss terms in person. The landing party descended through swirling clouds in a shuttle that alternated between solid and phantom states, rendering planetary defenses irrelevant. They touched down in the ancient Plaza of Ascendancy, a symbolic location where the Zalnar had historically accepted the surrender of conquered species. The irony was lost on no one present. Admiral Han led a small delegation across the plaza's polished stone surface. Dr. Kim walked beside him, his enhanced perception allowing him to appreciate the complex mathematical patterns embedded in the architecture. Behind them followed diplomatic and security personnel, all displaying that unsettling human calm that had become the hallmark of their changed nature. The Zalnar waited on ceremonial platforms, their ruling council assembled in full regalia. The Supreme Commander stepped forward, towering over the human delegation. We expected annihilation, he admitted. Your fleet could reduce our cities to ash while remaining untouchable. Why do you hesitate? Han's reply echoed across the plaza. Because justice is not vengeance. New Terra taught us that lesson too well. The terms presented were both simple and profound. Those directly responsible for the New Terra attack would face a galactic tribunal. The Zalnar military would disarm, retaining only defensive capabilities. Reparations would flow to human survivors and other species harmed by Zalnar aggression. Most significantly, the Dominion would transform from military empire to participant in a new regional security compact, with humanity as guarantor. These terms preserve your civilization while ensuring you can never threaten others, Han concluded. We have no interest in your resources, territories, or subjugation. The Supreme Commander studied the human with compound eyes that had evolved to detect the slightest weakness in prey species. He found none. What prevents you from demanding more? Your technological advantage is overwhelming. Dr. Kim stepped forward, his scientist's curiosity evident despite the formal setting. You misunderstand fundamental human psychology. We don't seek dominance, we seek safety and fairness. The difference shapes everything. The signing ceremony proceeded with ancient formality. Treaties recorded on crystalline tablets, a Zalnar, tradition dating back millennia, were witnessed by representatives from 17 species. The event marked not just an end to conflict, but a transformation of galactic power structures that had persisted for thousands of years. 3 weeks later, the council chamber hummed with anticipation. Species representatives filled every tier, many standing in designated overflow areas. At the center, the founding ring, previously reserved for the eldest spacefaring civilizations, had been modified to include a new seat. The Thalaxian elder spoke first, bioluminescent patterns expressing ceremonial respect. The Council recognizes that recent events have necessitated reconsideration of humanity's status. Their demonstrated capabilities and restraint warrant appropriate acknowledgement. Representative Park took her place in the founding ring, the first human to occupy such a position. Her expression remained composed despite the historic significance. Humanity accepts this recognition not as reward for military success, but as acknowledgement that true security requires equal standing. We join the founding ring not to dominate, but to ensure justice for all species, regardless of age or power. The implications of her careful wording escaped no one present. The Council's millennia-old preference for established powers over newer species was being directly challenged, not through demands but through demonstrated capability. Later that evening, at a reception in the Galactic Embassy complex, Dr. Kim found himself approached by scientists from diverse species. Their questions focused on one topic above all others. Is the neural transformation permanent? Asked a Vexillian researcher, their tentacular appendages waving with excitement. Will future human generations inherit these capabilities? Kim sipped his drink thoughtfully. All evidence suggests these neural pathways were always present in our species. dormant potential awaiting activation. Our children are being born with these capacities already active. This isn't new evolution, it's full expression of what we always were. Across the room, Admiral Han engaged with military attachés from a dozen worlds. Their discussion turned inevitably to the phase shift technology that had rendered conventional defenses obsolete. "Will you share this technology?" asked a Parthian commander, her feathered crest rising with anxiety. "The balance of power has already shifted," Han completed her thought, "but not in the way you fear. We have no intention of monopolizing this technology forever. We will share it, gradually, responsibly, with species that demonstrate commitment to collective security rather than dominance." The ambassador from Miri Prime, a world that had suffered Zalnar raids for decades, approached Han with visible emotion. "You could have destroyed them completely. Many would have considered it justified." Han's gaze drifted toward the viewport, where Earth shone as a distant point of light. "When we looked into the abyss of vengeance, we saw not satisfaction, but an endless cycle. What makes humanity different isn't our technology or neural enhancements. It's our choice to break cycles rather than perpetuate them." The reception continued around them, species that had been separate for millennia, now mingling with new understanding. The old hierarchies remained visible in subtle ways. Ancient species still clustered together, newer arrivals gathered in their own groups, but the rigid structures had begun to dissolve. 2 days later, Admiral Han and Dr. Kim stood on the Q observation deck of the Vindication as it prepared to depart Council space. Earth awaited their return, along with the task of building something new from victory. "The Council believes they've contained us by granting recognition," Han observed. "They think we'll become part of their system now." Kim smiled slightly. "They still don't understand. We're not interested in their system. We're creating something better." Below them, Council ships escorted the Vindication with ceremonial precision, a gesture of respect and perhaps continuing wariness. The Ghost Fleet followed in perfect formation, their phantom forms shimmering against the stars. "They fear what we might become," Han said quietly. "Perhaps they should," Kim replied. "Not because we seek conquest, but because we've revealed another path is possible. That realization will echo across the galaxy long after our ships have returned home." As the fleet accelerated toward Earth, messages streamed in from dozens of species, not just official communications from governments, but direct appeals from populations that had endured centuries of imbalanced power structures. They didn't ask for military intervention or conquest of their oppressors. They asked for partnership, technology sharing, inclusion in humanity's vision of justice. The galaxy would never be the same again. Not because humanity had conquered, but because they had shown restraint when conquest was possible. The end.